Good morning, St. Joseph class, and happy Monday. Welcome to another wonderful week of learning. Now, today's July the 6th. If you're American, Saturday, July the 4th, had a very important significance. Do you know why? Why is July the 4th important for Americans? Well, it's actually called Independence Day. Very important day and date in the American calendar. So I thought this week we'd spend some time looking at what Independence Day was, its significance, and why it's still important today. So let's get cracking. So I'm just going to grab this little man and pop him just here so you can see 4th of July, Independence Day. But what does Independence Day mean? Independence Day on the 4th of July is a national holiday in the United States of America that commemorates and celebrates the Declaration of Independence. Now you may recognize this green hand and green tablet. It's a statue that you see when you arrive by sea in New York. And you can see it says July, and then in Roman numerals we have IV, which stands for 4, so it's July the 4th. But then underneath that, we have the year in Roman numerals. MDCCLXXVI. Can any of our mathematicians or historians work out what year that says? Well, M stands for 1000. Then the D stands for 500. CC means 200. LXX means 70. And VI means 6. So put those together and you have 1776. So July the 4th, 1776. In the 17th and 18th centuries, 13 British colonies were founded on the east coast of North America. They were part of the British Empire, and in the early 1700s were under the rule of King George III, the King of England. The 13 colonies were Connecticut, Delaware, Georgia, Maryland, Massachusetts, New Hampshire, New Jersey, New York, North Carolina, Pennsylvania, Rhode Island, South Carolina, and Virginia. In 1765, the British Parliament passed the Stamp Act. The colonists had to pay lots of tax to King George III. The colonists felt that they were paying too much tax. They also had no vote or representation in the British Parliament and wanted a greater say in how they were governed. So those United States of America, those 13 colonies, were still ruled and governed by England. The colonists used the slogan, "No taxation without representation," and there was a public burning of the Stamp Act in Boston. Parliament ignored the protests and introduced even more taxes in the Tea Act, in which the colonists had to pay heavy taxes on tea. A protest took place in Boston Harbor on the 16th of December, 1773. And you can see here, there's a depiction of what happened. You can see some Native Americans here. And it says, "The destruction of tea at Boston Harbor." The protesters boarded the ships of the East India Company and threw the tea chests into the sea. It became known as the Boston Tea Party. After the Boston Tea Party, the British Parliament passed a number of laws known as the Coercive Acts to punish the colonists. The acts took away Massachusetts self-government and other rights. The colonists called them the Intolerable Acts. Colonies were urged to unite against British rule. "Join or die" was a slogan created by Benjamin Franklin. You can see here the letters are the 13 colonies and separated. You can see different parts of a snake, but if you join together, they will make quite a potent enemy for the English government. And as you can see, it says join or die. It appeared in the Boston Journal on the 7th of July, 1774. Join or die. In 1774, the colonists decided to set up a meeting of a group of representatives from the 13 colonies, which they called the Continental Congress. They met at the Carpenter's Hall in Philadelphia to decide what to do. At first, most of the colonists did not want to break away from Great Britain, but they wanted the King and Parliament to be fairer. The colonists organised a boycott of imports of British goods. On the 5th of July, 1775, Congress sent a document called the Olive Branch Petition to King George III to see if they could avoid going to war. In the petition, the colonists asked that they be given either free trade and taxes equal to those of the people in Great Britain, or no taxes and strict trade regulations. King George refused to read the Olive Branch Petition and declared the colonists traitors. The American Revolution began. All the king's officials were expelled from the colonies. Congress raised an army to fight the British, and George Washington was made its commander-in-chief. In 1775, the war began between Britain and the United States. Here you can see George Washington, who later became America's first president, and the title Washington appointed Commander-in-Chief. It was known as the American Revolutionary War, or the American War of Independence. On the 11th of June, 1776, Congress set up a committee of 5 people: John Adams, Benjamin Franklin, Thomas Jefferson, Robert Livingston, and Roger Sherman. They were asked to prepare a document declaring the United States independent from British rule. This became known as the Declaration of Independence. On the 4th of July, 1776, which is the same date that was on the Statue of Liberty's tablet at the beginning, on the 4th of July, 1776, the Declaration of Independence was approved by Congress. The 13 American colonies were declared a new nation, the United States of America, and were no longer part of the British Empire. On the 14th of June, 1777, Congress passed the Flag Act. The act said that the United States of America should have a new flag made up of 13 white stars on a blue box on a background of 13 red and white stripes. The flag had 13 stars to represent the original 13 colonies, with the stars arranged in a circle. France, Spain, the Netherlands, and Canada joined the United States in the war against Britain. Many battles took place in which the British were forced to surrender. The war lasted for 8 years, from 1775 to 1783. After many battles and lots of bloodshed, the war eventually ended in 1783 with the signing of a peace treaty in Paris. In 1789, George Washington became the first president of the United States and served until 1797. He came to be known as the father of the country. And this is the tablet and the green hand that we saw at the start of the presentation. The Statue of Liberty on Liberty Island in New York, designed by French sculptor Frédéric Auguste Bartholdi and built by Gustave Eiffel, was a gift from France to the United States. You may recognize this name, Eiffel, who was also responsible for building the Eiffel Tower in Paris. The statue was a gift from France to the United States. The statue was dedicated on the 28th of October, 1886. Since the colonies became independent of Britain, celebrations have taken place in the United States on the 4th of July to commemorate their independence. Early celebrations included music and parades. Here, Independence Day celebrations are taking place in the Center Square, Philadelphia, in July 1819. On the eve of the 4th of July, bonfires of barrels and caskets were lit. The highest were 40 barrels high in Salem, Massachusetts. This custom flourished in the 19th and 20th centuries and is still practiced in some New England towns. The 4th of July parade in Bristol, Rhode Island, is the oldest continuous Independence Day celebration in the United States. It began in 1785. Today, firework displays take place in most towns and cities throughout the United States of America. Major firework displays take place in New York City, in Chicago on Lake Michigan, in San Diego, in Boston on the Charles River, in St. Louis on the Mississippi River, in San Francisco over the San Francisco Bay, and on the National Mall in Washington. Firework displays are often accompanied by patriotic songs, such as the Star-Spangled Banner and God Bless America. We've already heard, or we saw Lady Gaga singing the Star-Spangled Banner at the Super Bowl. Independence Day is marked by patriotic displays and parades. President Thomas Jefferson held the first 4th of July event at the People's House in 1801. Parades and firework displays continue to take place at the White House each year. This parade is taking place in Houston. On the 4th of July, a gun salute takes place at noon, called Salute to the Union. One gun is fired for each of the original 13 states. Red, white and blue flags and decorations are seen everywhere. Families get together and celebrate with picnics and barbecues. Hopefully, you will now understand why Independence Day is such a special celebration in the United States of America. And here we can see the start of the Declaration of Independence, which says, "We, the people of the United States of America." And here you can see on YouTube, Liberty's Kids, American Revolution, a full series of 40 short cartoons which go through the story of the American road to independence. And I'll pop that link on the St. Joseph class tile on Zap. So, you should now have a clearer insight into Independence Day and why the 4th of July is so important for Americans. Well, like I said, I'll pop that link onto our class tile, the St. Joseph class tile. And also the eagle-eyed of you may have recognised or realised that some of my hair also declared independence from me on Saturday. Might be getting ready for the summer. Anyway, I hope you found that of use, and I look forward to seeing you again on Wednesday. Happy Independence Day.